hi to everyone who is watching and listening. Welcome to my Culture Talks, a series of interviews with people from all over the world who are sharing their stories and experiences living and working in different countries and talking about possible differences and similarities between the countries and cultures. So today I'd like to welcome Dilek Süzal. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Dilek is a certified business coach, globally recognized by the International Coaching Federation, the ICF, and currently a mentor at the Professional Women's Network here in Vienna. She's Austrian with Turkish roots and holds a master's degree in architecture, which I find very interesting, especially the combination. Her native language is Turkish, and she speaks English and German fluently, and I think some basic Italian as far as I remember. So thank you, Dilek, for being my guest today.
Thank you, Martina, for inviting me. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So today we will be talking about your experiences as an individual who transitioned from one cultural environment to another, so from Turkey to Austria, and how your cultural background and your values influences your work, possibly, and your personal and professional achievements in life. But before we go into details, can you tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and what kind of services you offer as a coach?
Of course, my pleasure. How much time you have? Because sometimes when I start talking, I kind of like lose the track of time. I enjoy to be on this interview so much. So thank you again for the invitation. So let me quickly introduce myself. As you said, my name is Dilek Süzal. I'm originally from Turkey. Since 10 years, I have been living in Vienna with my family. We have moved here because of the job of my husband. He works as a financial controller, and he found a position here, and we transferred our life actually from Ankara, from our home city, to Vienna 10 years ago. And since then, we are living here a happy life. We like the city. We like the environment. I have 2 kids. And I call myself a professional with over 20 years of experience, but as you said, in different fields, which we will be coming, I guess, in the course of the talk. But the reason why I take part in your beautiful Cultural Talk series is that I have had the opportunity to live through different cultures in my life, mainly the Turkish culture and the Austrian culture. And I had the opportunity to travel to different cultures and have a taste from each one of them in the course of 40 years of my life. So I'm very, very happy to be contributing to this culture talk because I think it is a big richness. The more it is, the big value it brings to our lives.
Mm-hmm. So you were born in Ankara,
Yeah.
and in Istanbul, you grew up there as well, right? And studied there. Is that
Actually,
correct?
I was born in Ankara. My family, half of my family is from Istanbul, half from Ankara and Bursa. So mainly I have lived and worked in Ankara, but also worked in Istanbul for some time in my life. But I can tell you that I have grown up in 2 big cities in Turkey, which mainly Ankara and then Istanbul to be the work and the
Mm-hmm.
family part.
So let's start quickly in Turkey. Have you noticed any differences between Ankara and Istanbul already in
Yeah.
terms of culture?
Yeah, sure. Actually, Ankara and Istanbul, it has both cities have different historical backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Istanbul was kind of like the capital, all the history behind the Ottoman Empire and so on and so forth. So it was kind of like the headquarters of it all. So it has a very rooted culture and history all throughout the centuries. And Ankara is a very new city, so to say, like with a history of 100 years, not even 100 years after the after the Turkish Republic was grounded. It was the capital city, so it is kind of like a baby city, as a new city. So of course it has its cultural differences, it has its energetic differences, and currently it has its trade differences as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, did the culture in general play an important role in your family as well?
Yes, yes, absolutely. culture is a big topic in Turkey. But let me answer your question with a little bit of explanation. Just because Turkey is a huge country, like as a continent, with 80 million people living in it, it has many different local cultures, Martina. And to answer your question correctly, I have to underline the fact that I am coming from a big city as a 40-year-old woman mother who had the opportunity to have a good education, who had the opportunity to be raised by very open-minded people, my mother, my father, and who has had the opportunity to travel to 20 countries before the age of 35, and who speaks a lot of languages and had the courage to start a life abroad. So I will answer your question from that perspective. Even though we're not a very traditional family, of course, culture plays a very big role in my life as my foundation, as my relationships with my big family and me, and our neighbors and our social circle and relatives. It plays a beautiful part in my life.
And I mean, they were probably very open-minded but when you told them that you would move abroad, how did they react? Like leaving your country, your culture?
It's like leaving your mama. So they were, of course, supportive, a little bit heartbroken because my husband, he's the only child. And I have a very supportive family from his side as well. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law, they were also very supportive all through our life. And my mother and father, they supported our decision. And they said, okay, if it's the best case for you, we could only support you. But just because my daughter was 2.5 years old back then when we decided to move to Vienna, of course, it was a difficult transition for the grandmothers and grandparents in general. And yes, as I said, emotionally heartbroken, but intelligently supportive, I would say.
That's good. You know, to have a family that supports all your decisions, it's quite helpful when you move abroad, especially when it's a different culture, different country. And I'm sure you've experienced some differences when you came to Austria, but we will get to that a bit later, I guess. So you also mentioned that traveling to 20 countries. Which countries did you see? Where did you travel?
Actually, many places in Europe, because I have started with backpacking in Europe with the age of 18, 17 with my best friend, Burcu. Back then, I mean, we have traveled to France, Italy, Belgium, Luxembourg, Holland, many other. I mean, that was one route that was like, it was like many years ago, like 25 years ago, but there were like interrail traveling routes that you could pick and have your backpack and go. And it was also a very pioneered move, I guess, with like 17, 18, be like two girls on the road. So this shows, I think, how open-minded my family was. Thank God. So I'm very, very lucky about that. And afterwards, I have traveled to USA because my aunt is living there with my uncle. My cousins were born there. They're there since ages. Then different geographies. I have been to Israel. I have been to Russia, to Estonia, to Finland, to Denmark, to what else? To Italy. I have mentioned before, I guess. I mean, many places in Europe, but other than Europe, just like USA, Israel. Yeah.
But I think that doing that at the age of 17 was something special. I think not every parents like to see their daughter moving around somewhere in Europe without it having any connection but back home. So
Exactly.
it must have been still interesting, you know, to see or try to speak different languages, understand them, and see the different cultures, which
Yeah.
probably influenced you a lot afterwards, right?
Absolutely. It absolutely had a huge effect on me. And I could honestly say, Martina, that my fascination with human potential has started maybe with those trips. Maybe not that conscious back then when you're 17. I mean, the only thing you want to do is kind of like see different places, party, drink and eat, enjoy life. But I think the more I have visited different countries and I was in contact with the locals in that geographies, the more I realized that humans, my God, they could create different languages, they could create different fields of work, they could create different environments, they could create different technologies. My goodness, this human, wow, mind-blowing organism. So I think it was kind of like on a subconscious level, started with those trips. So it was like, wow, very effective.
Yeah, but I guess you weren't aware until a later point because you studied architecture, which has nothing to do with what you're doing right now. What made you change from architecture to coaching?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question. Actually, it's a question that I get a lot. Um, Let me tell you this. I have studied architecture very ironically with a huge passion. So I wanted to work in a field where I could serve people in a creative way, but I was coming from a math, physics background in gymnasium, so I wanted to use those technical skills, but interpersonal skills. And I thought architecture was creative enough, technical enough, and also like on a level of intellectual skill usage, it was like kind of like the best fitting field for me back then when I was like 20 years old, not even 20. So I studied architecture with a huge passion because in university it's all about creativity. You know, you have all those blocks and you carve these models and you communicate over the models with this is super open-minded, creative professors of yours. It is brilliant. It's magic. But after you graduate, you start to come with bureaucracy, and, limitations and technical stuff and construction sizes. Whew, it's a bit different. To be honest, I have quickly shifted after 2, 3 years of architectural office experience. I quickly shifted to interior architecture, in which you can design on a smaller scale and more interactive with clients. So just because I was a social person since the beginning, since the day I was born, I needed to do something interpersonally and later on interculturally. So this interpersonal search brought me to interior architecture and over almost 15 plus years of direct experience to work with people to create their physical environment. And the more I worked on projects, creating those physical environments, the more had I contact with different clients from different backgrounds. And on a common pot, Martina, what I observed was there was something behind this drive of change. There was something behind the facade. There was some interior work to be done before you try to change your physical environment. And like lit the bulb in my mind, I said, okay, I always loved the creative part of idea generation in architecture. I always loved the part of project presentation. I always loved the part of bargaining with the clients if necessary on my project and the things that I believe. And structuring was my thing. Time management was my thing. Project management was my thing. Okay, why don't I use these talents and skills to work for the interior architectural environment within ourselves? So this is how I came to that point where I said, okay, I need to work with people, but in a different field, structuring different things. And there I went to this deep search for many, many years, trying to discover the best possible way for me. And then I came to the field of architecture, which since then I am a super passionate advocate for. A long answer to your question, right?
That's true, but very good answer. It shows you how you came to be like the way you are now and how you do your coaching as well, because you come from a different background. It's not, you can relate to people a bit more, yeah, coming to you. And I think it's very important, as you said, to work with your inner child first before making any exterior changes, yeah, or something that you're working on, because people tend to change the structure in the house or move stuff around in the room to make things easier. but they usually do not look inside a little bit more.
Exactly. There's always something else that drives that change. Maybe they want to
Yeah.
have a better physical environment because they want
Mm.
better relationships. They want better creative results for their works. There are many other things behind that.
When you moved to Austria, what was or what were the first things that you noticed were different or surprising or something that you didn't expect?
Actually, there's so many things. Where shall I start? It's like I think the social relationships. The
Mm-hmm.
social relationships back in Turkey and here in Austria, they're totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, a very, very funny example, but if you want to meet with friends in a park for like a play date for the kids, you need to make
Mm-hmm.
3 months in advance an appointment with your friends. Shall we make an appointment? I don't know, in 6 months.
Yeah.
So in Turkey, these kind of actions and relationship, it's more spontaneous. You
Mm-hmm.
call somebody and you go out. And when we first landed here in Austria, we thought the same way, but then we didn't know that you really need to schedule your social life like you schedule your professional life. But we got used to it in time.
But I think you like the time management, right? So I guess
Yeah.
that wasn't such a big issue.
Yeah, no, I mean, time management, I don't know. I think I am a natural at this. I have absolutely no
Mm-hmm.
idea. But when I plan something and when I say it's 1 hour, it's not 59 minutes or 61 minutes. It's really like 60 minutes. I don't know how to do this. It is an
Mm-hmm.
instinct, but I love time management, planning my time, and that's a key factor for multitasking when you have a family, a profession, job, everything.
Do you see any difference in how you, I mean, not the values in this case, but like
Mhm,
having that time management now and working on a schedule and planning everything ahead?
mhm,
Do you
mhm.
see any issues or challenges when you talk to relatives or your family in Turkey, like in terms of planning?
Hmm. In terms of planning, no, actually, they got used to our new system.
Okay.
So they think, okay, so we need to be communicating this time of the day, that time of the day. So we're doing very many pre-scheduling, of course, with the family
Hmm.
as well. Yeah, they got used to it. It functions very good right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other
Mhm.
things that you've noticed over time? I mean, you've been here for a while.
We have been here for a lot of time. So there stuff on social relationship level, on
Mhm.
professional level.
Let's go for the professional because it
Mhm,
might also in like when we think about your work, how it
mhm.
actually influences your work.
Yeah, it's a very important question, I guess. Thank you. So, on a professional level, I could say that in Turkey and in Austria, the professional culture, the work culture is totally different.
Hmm.
In Turkey, the work culture is mostly identifying who you are as a person. So,
Hmm.
when you work as an architect in Turkey, you define yourself in every environment, work environment, social circles, everywhere, as an architect. When people ask you, what do you do? You say, I am an architect. So
Hmm.
you don't answer the question, I mean, I try to juggle between family life and work life, and I do this and I that. No, you say, I am an architect, because it consumes 40 to 60 hours of your week,
Hmm.
and it consumes a lot of mind space. So either you work full time or you work full time plus overtime. So this is
Hmm.
how you work in Turkey if you want to have a good corporate career, earn your own money, and stand on your own feet. Whereas in Austria, the last, as I said, like 10 years of my life, I have worked a lot of freelance work. I have worked as an employee also. So in both of the cases, I have seen that people have less workplace stress in
Hmm.
relation to Turkey, and
Hmm.
maybe less fear of losing their jobs, because it's kind
Hmm.
of like a social system, there are financial benefits everywhere. And you also have the opportunity to work part time, for example, and nobody criticizes you because you're working part time.
Hmm.
On the other way, they support you because you are a mother, you have a role in your family, And when you work part-time, it is totally acceptable. Whereas in Turkey, all of my counterparts, my female counterparts, they're working full-time, even though they have families. So when you have the opportunity to work part-time, of course, you have, besides the opportunity to further develop yourself, to master yourself, if you want to go for different educational options, like I did here in Austria, and to shift your career, shift your life. I mean, restart all over again with 40, 50. I mean, it gives you that opportunity. So very different work cultures.
Okay, so it's not quite possible, or women or people wouldn't do that kind of change or wouldn't make that change. Is that what you're saying? Like back in Turkey, if you work or if you are an architecture, you will stay an architecture. You won't necessarily change your profession.
There are lots of people that are in career transition back in Turkey too, but it takes a lot of effort. Um, but they also have the advantage of the family care. So when I say family care, the grandparents are mostly very ready to take care of the grandchildren. And this is a big cultural difference that I wanted to mention also. When you give birth, your mom and dad, they think that they are the mom and dad of the kids. So they're so like having their wings around your baby. They have this, they offer this great support when it comes to grandchildren care. And it gives the full-time workers, be it mom or dad, the opportunity to shift careers when they have that support. But mainly here in Austria, what I observe is that here in the local culture, the grandparents are not as enthusiastic as in Turkey, like having the grandchild care as a full-time job. So mother and father are responsible of their children, of course. And so that a part-time job, kids and career transition is possible here, whereas in Turkey, full-time job, grandchildren care, and career transition could be possible also.
Yeah. I think the value family is very differently defined in
Yeah,
each culture. Yeah.
yeah.
But I guess it's when we look at Austria, there is also a difference in living in the city and living in the countryside, because I grew up in the countryside and we were very close. And my grandparents and my parents and I, we were living in one house together. So it was
Beautiful.
easy, to take care of the other person, or of me in this case. And but when you look at families in the cities, they usually do not live close to their grandparents, so it's not that easy to do that. Yeah. And when we look in Turkey, definitely also a difference between city and countryside. I'm sure of that. Yeah. But I
Absolutely.
think that the value family is higher in Turkey than it is here in Austria. I would say. I would.
You would also say that, right?
Yes. As far as I know, and what I've heard so far.
Exactly, exactly. What I observed too. So, for example, in Austria, there are lots of patchwork families among
Hmm.
our social circle as well. Whereas in Turkey, it is less often to be found, I would say. So, this is also a cultural difference that I
Hmm.
observed.
Yeah. When you got here, did you notice any stereotypes towards you?
Towards me, absolutely no. But it might be because that I look more European than Anatolian, and I
Hmm.
used to have like blonde hair, and I mean the older you become, the more white hair you have, and the more you want to feel yourself younger, so the darker hair. But I used to have a lighter hair color, and I have
Hmm.
blue eyes. I mean lighter skin tone, so I am more likely to be seen as European, not maybe Austrian, but European from Spain, Italy, whatever.
Hmm.
Um, so I didn't have any kind of negative attitude towards me.
Hmm.
But I know that a very big stereotypical perspective exists here in Europe and here in Austria towards people that are coming from where I come from. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
we all have stereotypes. That's nothing that we cannot deny that. I think we
Mm-hmm.
still have something or some stereotypes in our heads, in our mind, because of how we were brought up or how we lived
Mm-hmm.
our lives and what kind of experiences we've had. I think that's one big point, and also something that we should work on. Yeah, to be more
Exactly.
open-minded and see
Exactly.
what's behind the person, and not necessarily only the culture that we seem to know.
That's absolutely true. And I feel myself more of a global citizen, really.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever I feel myself home, I can call home. And
Mm-hmm.
after we moved to Austria, we have had so beautiful relationships with local people here. So
Mm-hmm.
I cannot back up that cliche that the Austrian people are cold and they're this and that. No. I mean, whatever you give, you take back. And we
Mm-hmm.
only had positive support from our Austrian friends
Mm-hmm.
and afterwards our international friends to get used to life here in Vienna. So we only had beautiful experiences when it comes to human relationships here in Vienna.
Yeah, I had the same experience when I moved to the US. A lot of
Hmm.
people are like against the US or the people, but I love the country, and I had only very positive experiences. So
Yeah.
why should I talk negatively about that country? I mean, there are always pros and cons about something or the culture, of
Hmm.
course,
Hmm. Of
but it
course.
doesn't mean that every individual is the same. And that's something we probably both work on, you as a coach and I'm as an intercultural trainer, so that we are not the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So when you look at all the countries you've been to, or what you've experienced in Turkey and in Austria and all the countries you've been to, do you think that your values have changed over time?
Um, my values, my core personal values has stayed the same,
Mm-hmm.
whereas my cultural values have enriched, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the good way to answer your question is that when I say values, um, the more international environment you have, the more you understand that at the end of the day, it comes down to some basic humanistic values that we all share,
Mm-hmm.
like harmony, like balance, like freedom, like self expression, self trust, and confidence, and all those things. It doesn't really matter from which cultural context that you're coming from. These are the things that you are directed to.
Mm-hmm.
Men and women, without gender, without religion, whatever. It really doesn't matter. These are the common humanistic values that we're after and that I am after.
Mm-hmm.
But once you have the opportunity, Martina, you have lived through the same thing, I know, to see your culture, to see where you come from outside,
Mm-hmm.
then your perspective changes.
Mm-hmm.
Then you say, okay, this is the culture that I was born to and that I was grown up in, and this is the culture that I'm currently living in. And these are the cultural values from my prior culture that I can have to my core values.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the new cultural values that resonate with me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that you have the option to pick from different cultures and from different core values and internalize as your cultural values or
Mm-hmm.
personal values. So this is what happened to me. I don't know if it was the answer to your question, but yeah, this is exactly how it happened on my side.
Mm-hmm. Can you think of one value that you picked from another culture? What you internalized?
Yeah, Italy. We have lived a little bit in Italy with my husband when we were
Mm-hmm.
visiting Italian language schools, and this vivid, energized human relationships, like all
Yeah.
those body language and blah blah blah, blah, like long table dinners, long conversations,
Mm-hmm.
and this very close interpersonal relationships that
Mm-hmm.
I have experienced in Italy. It just also enriched my personal values as well. So I love
Yeah.
Italy too.
So has it changed how you set up your dining table
Yeah,
and how you celebrate?
a longer table, longer
A
table.
longer table, okay.
Yeah.
But when you think of Italy and Turkey, I mean, in both cultures, family has a high status. So do you think it's even more in Italy than in Turkey?
You could say so. So when we were in
Mhm.
Italian language school, one of our teachers told us that until 30, the young guys, I mean young males, are staying in
Mhm.
Hotel Mama, and then after 30, they're moving to Hotel Wife. So there's like there's always this so this close relationships, of course. Yeah, maybe you could say even more closer in Italy. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, that's not, I think it's not very common here unless you see the differences between the city and the countryside again,
Mm.
that
Mhm.
they stay that long in someone's home or,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
hotel mama or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they move out very early, I guess, like
Mhm.
maybe with college education or these
Yeah.
student apartments that they share starting from the age of 17, 18. But I think we have to also consider the fact that in city life is totally different than the rural areas. Maybe you would also say yes to this. In the rural areas, like one similarity between Turkey and Austria, the rural areas are more traditional, of course, by
Mhm.
nature,
Yeah.
and the city life is more open minded, more open to change, less conservative, less
Mm.
traditional. And so the family life could vary from city to rural area as it varies from culture to culture.
Yeah. I think also in terms of business, it's completely
Hmm.
different. I talked to someone who is living in Germany and is Turkish. I mean, both, yeah, both
Hmm. Hmm.
citizenships, as far as I know. And he said in his business, what he does, there is no difference at all
Mm.
because it's business. Yeah. You have to be punctual in
Yeah.
both countries. So there's no way around. And you don't
Hmm.
really see that differences or, that you perhaps see when you go from one country to the other.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it was really interesting to hear that. So again, when you moved to Austria or even Italy, did you prepare somehow
Mm. I
for
thought
that
I was
change?
prepared. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really. I mean, when my husband got the offer from his back then job here in Vienna, I of course kind of did my research for the cultural facts, for the environment, the city life, and everything.
Hmm.
But yeah, Martina, it was totally different when you come here. I mean,
Yeah.
I have visited Vienna two, three times prior to moving here, and when you're
Hmm.
here as a tourist, staying a week, 2 weeks, it's totally different than you're moving here and need to do the grocery shopping here and need to do the, like find a school for your kid kind of thing. It's of
Hmm.
course totally different, and there were many things that I wasn't prepared for
Hmm.
and that I needed to discover once I started to live here.
Mm. I mean, it's a good start to go to the country or the city you want to move to and just explore the city. But as you said, like staying here as a tourist doesn't help. You probably have to go for, I don't know, an Airbnb or something where you're involved in those day-to-day business or that life that you would be
Mhm,
living in the future.
mhm, mhm.
That might be more helpful than being a typical tourist because you also won't see some parts of the city because you wouldn't go there and
Yeah,
you don't get that kind of information. Or what I've heard also is that you are not aware of the prices of the apartments and so on, what's included in all the offers that we have, social security, insurance, and things like that. So,
absolutely. Absolutely. So these are the facts that you need to learn with your,
mhm,
as you said, day-to-day exercises. And
yes.
when you need something, you learn that thing. So it's already depending on what you need in your everyday life. So it change from one person to the other with the personal needs. But
Mhm.
basically, as you said, like the social system, health system, grocery system, everything you need to be locally learning. which I find fascinating.
Yeah. Have you ever had a time after coming here where you felt not as happy to be here? Have you ever had that?
Hmm. Honest answer to your question, when I moved here with my daughter, 2.5 years old, um, I have landed in a totally different lifestyle because when I was
Mm-hmm.
in Turkey, I was in a managerial position in one of the biggest corporate companies in Turkey. I had leaded a team. I had a very good career path ahead of me. And my daughter was being taken care of by my mother, as I said, by my father, by my mother and father-in-law. So when I landed here in Vienna, I found myself with a 2.5-year-old in the position of a stay-at-home mom,
Mm-hmm.
and lucky enough into 3 months pregnant with my son. And I was like, what the hell's just happened? I mean, I was living a different lifestyle, like my company car, company phone, like
Mm-hmm.
dinners there with the big corporate managers. And I'm like, what am I doing? I mean, it was really independent of the city that I was living in, but this
Mm-hmm.
was something that I wasn't expecting that I would feel that strongly.
Mm-hmm.
So I told myself when we decided to move here, okay, Dilek, it's a great life opportunity for you, and you would, after all those years of hard work, maybe you would find yourself some peace, some time with your
Mm-hmm.
child, and it's going to be brilliant. I came here like as if it was a long holiday. And
Mm-hmm.
then soon enough, I realized that, it's not a long holiday. You have your responsibilities and you
Mm-hmm.
are not defined by your job any longer. And surprise, it's totally different. How are you
Yeah.
going to cope with that? And my self mastery started 10 years ago when I started to think like that. Like, who are
Mm-hmm.
you? What are you trying to do in life?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to contribute this life with? And who do you think you really are?
Mm-hmm.
This is how it all started.
Yeah. And what you want to become, what kind of
Exactly.
person. Yeah. And how
Exactly.
you'd like to deal with those differences or the challenges that your life throws at you at some point. So,
Exactly.
yeah. All right. So, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's
Thank
very
you.
good also for the
Absolutely. Yeah.
listeners to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I think our honest stories, it makes the big difference because I know that there are lots of people in different challenges, and I cannot tell you that it was always butterflies and daisies. No, it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
that. It had
Mm-hmm.
brought its all challenges along the way, but when you are challenged with a situation, you grow, and there's no other way for yourself to grow.
Yeah.
So from a seed to a tree, you need to crack that seed up. So
Mm-hmm.
it was my cracking moment, and every crack comes with its pain points that you
Mm-hmm.
need to overcome. And of course, I had many pain points, and now in my current reality, I try my best to support people with their pain points and with their crackings and bloomings. So this is what I
Yeah.
do.
Very good. So, what advice would you give someone who intends to move and live abroad? What would be your top advice?
Top advice: find
Mm.
somebody who lives there and talk with them in advance. Or
Okay.
find somebody that lived there for a while and came back. Find those
Mm-hmm.
people in your social circle, in your LinkedIn contacts. In If you are in search of professional advice, find those people on professional platforms. If you are in need of personal information, find those
Mm-hmm.
people on social other platforms. But learn and approach to them. I'm trying to move to Vienna. What should I do? Or do you offer some mentorings? Or, for example, I have a program in
Mm-hmm.
2021, the Cultural Adaptation Mentoring Program.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's directed to Turkish people who want to move to Vienna, and trying to adapt to this culture. And in this
Mm-hmm.
mentoring program, what I offer is actually basically this: what to expect when
Mm-hmm.
you come here, and how could you be best prepared for the things that would change in your life. So my
Mm-hmm.
primary advice would be like learning from people.
Mm-hmm. Very good advice, actually. Yes, to talk to other people and not just come here with certain expectations and be surprised. Because what sometimes happens is that you get depressed very easily and very fast
Hmm.
if it hits you too hard. like if
Yeah.
that culture shock is too big.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people just leave again and go back because it's too much. Yeah. So you had the possibility to go up again. Yeah.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
get out of that down you probably had at some point. But
Exactly.
in order
Exactly.
to avoid that, it's important to talk to people to know what to expect and what to prepare for.
Exactly. And when the frustration comes, then you know that you're not alone.
Yes.
Everybody else were frustrated at one point. So
Mm,
when you see that, okay, I am feeling pretty down right now, but when you have the feeling that, okay, there should be a way up because there were many people behind before me, and there's going to be many people after me who's going to be living through this situation. I am not the first, I won't be the last, and there is a way up. So
yeah.
this is what we should all feel, I guess.
So for those who are interested in reaching out to you, how do they get in contact with you? Where can they actually find you?
So thanks, Martina, for the opportunity. So they can find me everywhere. I'm an open book. So first of all, they can go to 𝙒𝙦𝙦 where they can learn more about me, my coaching system, and my structure. And they can book a 15-minute get to know each other call. It's totally free of charge. And they book it on Calendly, and I call them when the time comes. So if they
Mhm.
want to book a session in advance, I offer a global first session, 75 minutes, and then follow-up sessions in 60 minutes, very easily to be booked on my website. And if
Mhm.
they want to get in contact with me on LinkedIn, I am to be found like Dilek Süzal with my name on LinkedIn. I would be very happy to connect
Mhm.
with them, with your audience, and very easily to be found. I am on Instagram, Dilek Süzal Coaching Training on my English account, and Dilek Süzal 𝐭𝐿𝐴 on my Turkish account, and under the same names to be found on Facebook or with my name. So I'm pretty much everywhere. So they can find me anywhere they want. And I would be very happy to contact with your audience.
All right. So yes, that's true. You can find Dilek almost everywhere, so you shouldn't worry about that. But I will also ask her to give me her links and everything. So I will put that below the post and also on YouTube, so that you can easily find Dilek and her websites and her Instagram account. So it's easier to get in contact with her.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Dilek, for the time today and sharing your thoughts, your experiences, and all your advice for the audience or for my audience. It was really a pleasure talking to you, and I hope that we can do that in the future, perhaps again, because I know you have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
And thank you all out there for watching. If you like to know more about other cultures, intercultural training, or expat training, please let me know. Get in contact. It's also very easy to set up a 30-minute call with me, 15-minute call, and let's just talk about what you need and how I can help you. So thank you for watching, and see you soon.